What's going on YouTube? Today I'm bringing you a deck that I like to call Kurafish. We've got some nice gameplay against a Hermes Blizz list, a Solar Mill, as well as a Hermes Fulgorix list. Before we get into the gameplay, let's hop over and do a quick deck profile. Starting off our deck, we have our Fish Engine, so we have our 3 Champ Aphoros, our 3 Base Aphoros, our 3 Champ Magneros, and then we have 2 Champ Foamy to help search out our 3 Aphrodite. We have 2 Champ Galaxy because good card, stat swap, still good in this game, especially in the current format. And then we get into the Kuribus side of things. We've got 3 of our bluest eddies. Make sure you always playing your bluest eddies. And then we've got 2 Kuribus. So this is the goal of the deck, is to use the Fish Engine as kind of the main support engine, keep the game going, and ultimately try to get into the Kuribus. So we've got 2 of them in here. I don't mind hard drawing it given the fish go wide, and so you can always hard ascend over an Aphoros if you want. But how do we get into the Aphoro or into the Kuribus if we're not doing that? Well, we're using Rock in a Hard Place. How do we do that? We've got 2 Schnark to be able to search out our 2 Rock in a Hard Place. Debating on whether to go to 3 Rock in a Hard Place just to max out the chances of seeing this in the combo, given that we're on 3 Eddie. It came up a few times where it would have been nice to have another one, but I felt like 2 was okay and doesn't make the spirit math too bad, but could always consider going up to 3. And then how do we get, once we get our Kuribus out, his effect, we have to disenchant 2 water from our board to pop a card. Well, I don't want to be popping my own Kuribus to do that effect, and I don't really want to sacrifice all of my board presence if I've got fish out on the rest. So how do we get more water spirits on board to be able to disenchant? Well, that's where our next set of cards come in. We've got the Champ Bubloon, so we can expend the Champ Bubloon and a water to re-enchant 2 water from our underworld that we've already spent for Aphrodite searches, from some fish going down, from paying for counter runes. We can use the Bubloon to get some extra spirits back, and then once the Kuribus can do a pop, it can, if it's popping an Alestral or a card with spirits attached to it, then it's going to also heal us those water spirits. And then our next card to get some extra water on board is Monsoon of Eurus. We're not really looking for the suppression effect for Monsoon, as we know that we're going to be facing fish mirrors, or we're going to have Hermes decks that are popping up as more people get comfortable piloting those decks. But the suppression is nice if not facing that, say facing like a Thunderstorm, like a Volt deck, or a Dionysus deck. The suppression can be nice there, but we're really looking to just get those extra spirits on board. We've also got an Aphrodite Soulmates, which is searchable by the Magneros if we've already got other back row pieces or combo pieces and we don't need to keep searching out the Aphoros. This also just helps us maintain a little bit of board presence in those situations, as we can keep the Aphoros out because they're going to try to go over the Aphoros to make our guys not 5 attackers. We've got 2 Tsunami because we're in water and we want to protect ourselves. So we've got 2 Tsunami, easy to side out in the mirror. And then we've got our normal back row package. We've got 3 Gorgons, 3 PTA, and 2 Shield. For our Spirit deck, we have 2 Monsoon. This is to be able to trigger it twice. Typically, we're only going to trigger it once. You could go down to 1 Wind Spirit on this since you're only playing the 2 Monsoon. But I've got 2 Wind in here because the water feels comfortable where it's at. Then we've got 2 Zaptor for the Magneros, playing 3 of them, run 2 Spirits, get a couple triggers if needed. Felt fine. And then we've got 3 Alloon. I know we're only playing 2 Rock and a Hard Place. If you went up to 3, you could still only run 2. We don't have any healing in this deck, so running 3 I think is good, and this helps us in our side deck as well. And then we've got the 13 Water Spirits. And then right now we only have a 12 card side deck. Haven't fully rounded out the side deck, but initial thoughts, I've got an Argo package in here, so I've got 3 different targets based on what kind of matchup we're going into. I've got the Necklace of Harmonia if we need a little extra attack, if we need a little bit of defense and ability to maybe search out the Kurafish. Another way, we can always have the Necklace of Aphrodite, and then the Trident of Poseidon to give a little bit of an attack buff, as well as prevent us from being targeted by counter runes. So really can play around with it with any of those. I've got a Joblin that can side in for a Kurafish, a great attacker, changing position as well as draw power with this card. And then we got a couple Spectaris, so this is why we're running 3 Lunar in the side, so that if we feel like we need to slide in good card Spectaris for a matchup, then we can do that and have enough Lunar to feel comfortable. And like I said, we're on Argo package, so we can easily swap this in, probably swapping this in for like the Monsoons and the Aphrodite Soulmates, or swapping them in for the Tsunamis and the Soulmate, just depending on the situation. We've also got that 3rd card of Shield. Could swap this for that 3rd PTA that's in the main. I haven't figured out which way I really want for it yet. We got a Champ Caprigal. This is good into fellow fish deck and other decks that are running more low to the ground strategies, since they can't get over this card in battle with their 1 Spirit Alestrals. And then I've got the 3rd Champ Foamy. I was running this in the main deck and only 2 Aphrodite, but I decided that I wanted to switch it because I felt like being able to hard draw Aphrodite was better than really trying to rely on foamy searches for it, because they're just going to Gorgons it if they have it. Now let's get into some gameplay. Game 1, we are going to be going against a Hermes Blistrix list. Our opponent here is going to be mulliganing. We are keeping our hand. Our opponent is going to expend their 2 Wind Spirits for the mulligan and start out by casting a Spy Nymph, searching themselves a Hermes. They will attach 4 to the Hermes and then use Hermes effect. They will search out Champ Aviolith to send to the Underworld, and they're going to heal all 4 of the Wind Spirits back to the Hermes. They will then set 2 back row and pass it on over to us, where we will draw, and we are going to set 2 cards. We're setting a PTA and a shield. We're going to start out with a Champ Foamy and attempt its effect, and they are going to Gorgons us to shut down our search for the Aphrodite. They will pay out some, I believe, 2 Frost Spirits. They will draw, set a card, and then they are going to activate the Hermes effect, and they are going to go in and get a Champ Spinosect. Effect to Nexus 1 Wind Spirit from the Hermes onto the Spy Nymph, use its effect to disenchant, to ascend, and get into the 2nd Champ Spinosect. They will go ahead and use the Champ Spinosect effect to bounce our Champ Foamy back to hand, and then they will run out a Brumelink's Champion of Keone. So this is where I was a little unsure of what they were doing. I thought maybe Blizz was in the deck, but I wasn't super sure just yet. I will PTA the Spinosect when it was cast, and then I will pay it out, as well as taking the damage from the attacks. Our turn coming up next, we will decide to play out a Champ Magneros, which will be Gorgonst again, paying out some more Frost Spirits on their side. So really just shutting down every play we have. We're burning through some of their back row. We know they have a whiteout set. Little camera knock there. They are going to activate Hermes effect again, sending another Champ Aviolith, and they will heal 4 Wind Spirits back to the Hermes. They will go into battle phase and attempt the Brumlinks over the Magneros, but we have shield, so we will go ahead and shield that back to hand, protecting our Magneros. Moving into our next turn, we're going to play out the Champ Foamy again, and we're going to go search the Aphrodite. I'm going to cast out the Aphrodite, going to load it up with 3 total spirits. I'm going to disenchant. I'm going to make a little bit of a mistake here. I'm trying to grab an Aepharos. It doesn't work because the Magneros is still a Thunder card, not a Water card, even though it does count as an Aepharos since it's properly enchanted. So we're just going to go grab our other Champ Foamy here. We can use this to search out one of our Kurafish later, being able to discard it with the Water Spirit for a 2-spirit Water Celestial. From here, we're just going to swing in for 2 damage. He's not going to use any of his back row, as we have some fairly weak Celestials and we have no back row to follow up with. They're going to go and use the Hermes effect again, this time sending Champ Carryoff, and they are going to use it to pop the Magneros and then pay out 1 spirit for that effect. They're going to Ambrosia to heal a couple Frost and a Wind, and then they are going to run out Champ Brumlinks again, grabbing another Blizzard Whiteout. So now we know they have both whiteouts in their deck, set in their back row, and we will just take the 1 damage. We're going to draw for turn. We're going to set a back row. I think about our play here. We're going to run out of Schnark. They're going to let Schnark go through. We're going to go search out a Rock in a Hard Place. I believe we have the Eddy in hand at this point, so we are just trying to gather all of our resources as we've been kind of shut down on each play we've done. So now we know only 1 back row is really going to be live here. Now, moving on to his turn, we've got an effect for Champ Carry On. He's going to go into Blistrix on a normal Ascension Siphoning from that Carry On. I've got the Tsunami though, so we'll chain that to the Blistrix effect to turn him to defense. Blistrix effect will still go through, and he is going to choose to pop the Schnark. I'm not 100% sure why he chose Schnark, unless just to get me off. I think the Aphrodite might have been the better play, just because then I lose the searching effect from it. I do have the Eddy, so I'm going to run out the Eddy. He has no response to the Eddy, not going to change Blistrix's position. We're going to pull 1 off the Afro and 1 Lunar from deck. We're going to use Rock in a Hard Place, targeting the Blistrix, and I believe, yes, the 1 back row that we know is not a Blizzard Whiteout. He's going to think it's a shield, and he's going to let the shield go, keeping the Blistrix on board. We're going to run out the Kurafish. We've only got one spirit left in deck, which is a wind spirit, so I can't use the Champ Bubloon in my hand to expend and get some extra spirits back on board for Kurafish effect, so we are just going to go into battle phase and run over the Blistrix at this point. And then going back to my opponent, he's going to cast a Hermes. He's going to use the Hermes effect to send another Champ Aviolith. He's going to heal the 4 back to the Hermes and use Hermes effect again. He's going to do another Champ Aviolith effect, healing back to Spirit deck. He's got the 3rd Hermes, going to do another little Hermes shuffle, sending the Champ Carry Off and expending to pop our Kurafish. And we've got the 1 spirit left, and he's going to finish out this game with the Brummalinks. And then we don't have any healing, so we're going to draw for turn, and we're going to call it for this one. Moving on to game 2, we are going to go first. And we are going to set 1. We'll cast out the Magneros, search our deck, and we are going to grab the Aphrodite Soulmates. I believe we already have 2 Champ Aephyros in hand, so it's better for us to just get something that we know is going to be useful. We'll set that Soulmate special cast out the Champ Aephyros and pass over to our opponent. They are going to start with the Hermes, load it up with 4 Disenchant for effect, and they are going to send the Carry On. They will use the Carry On effect to special cast it out with the Wind from the Underworld. They are going to set 2, and they are going to ascend it straight into an Asprow, Misenchanted. With a 7 attacker, it is scary, so I'm going to PTA it to bring it back down to a 5, and so it'll tie with my Aephyros and Magneros. I am going to take the 1 extra spirit as he goes over the Champ Aephyros, use the Soulmates, and cast it back out so we keep our board presence. We're going to set another card. We will special out the other Champ Aephyros, and he will PTA that Champ Aephyros, and then we're going to pitch the Foamy and a water to go grab our Kurafish. We'll cast out the Kurafish, and then we will have swung for 4 damage, which he will take. And then he is going to, I believe he expended to draw, as he didn't have anything, and pass back over to us. We're going to expend to draw ourselves, and then just swing in for another 4. And he scoops at this point. He said he only had a bunch of 2-drops in hand and really had nothing, and we would have wound up swinging for game on the next turn by loading up some more. Moving on to game 3, I'm feeling pretty good about the deck. I like how it's positioned. Blistrix is still very scary, so he's going to go first, and he's going to start off with the Brummalinks. So he's going to go search out the whiteout. I don't have the best hand I could have, but it wasn't too bad. But then he sets 3 back row. We don't know which one's the whiteout this time. I go with base Aephyros, cast out, and then special cast out Champ Aephyros. We're going to set 2. We're going to attempt to go over. He is going to Gorgons our Champ Aephyros in battle steps, so we're going to wind up taking the damage and going down 1 Alestral. He's going to cast out the Spy Nymph, load up a Hermes. He's going to cast out, or he's going to use Hermes effect for a Champ Carry Off to just pop my Champ Aephyros and clear my board. Doesn't want to bounce it back to hand because he knows I can just special cast it again. I believe I had another Aephyros in hand to do it again. We know we're on the back foot. He's got a full back row and a Hermes with 2 on it. We're going to cast out the Eddy. I am going to decide to move the Spine-Imp to attack. I'm going to go ahead and try to go into Kurafish early. We're going to target one of the back row, and the Brummelinks, he's going to decide to get rid of the Brummelinks. I know I can get over Spine-Insect. He is going to go ahead and Gorgons us on our attempt to ascend into Kurafish, so that's unfortunate. And then he pops down a second Hermes. And this is where the game starts to spiral. I've already been prevented from going to Kurafish. He's going to go ahead and do a little bit of a Hermes shuffle here. And this is basically what is going to happen the rest of the game. We're going to go the Champ Aviolith, healing 4 onto the other Hermes, loading that Hermes up, be able to activate Hermes, the other Hermes, which I believe he will do here. Yes, he's going to activate, send the Spine-Insect, ascend. He's going to ascend into the Spine-Insect. He is going to misenchant it with a Frost, so he is Frost Earth. So at this point, you can kind of tell where he's going. I am going to Tsunami, even though he's got high defense. It protects my guy, and I hope maybe I can hard draw the Kurafish for us. Otherwise, we are really on the back foot here. I'm going to have to expend a draw because I just don't have anything in hand. I grab another counter rune, go ahead and throw it down. I believe we have like a Monsoon, a couple PTAs down, so nothing that is really going to help us here. We're going to see more of the Hermes Shuffle and Aviolith here. We're going to send another Spine-Insect. Now we've got a Frost and Wind on it, and we have Blistrix in hand. We're going to get Blistrix out. I don't know whether to PTA him or not, as I think I could have an out. PTA is going to cost a lot, so I do not wind up PTAing. In the end, I should have PTA'd him, as that would have been the smarter thing to do, and he's going to wind up being Blistrix effect. I actually did not PTA him because I knew he had a whiteout set, so I didn't have 2 PTAs to basically get around all the whiteouts that he was going to be able to use. So I knew he was protected. I'm only hoping that that middle card there, Shield, is really my only savior, hoping he attacks in. Unfortunately for this game, he is going to sit on Blistrix as a tower. I am not going to get anything that's going to be able to out Blistrix, and we are going to Hermes Shuffle around and around, and we are ultimately going to wind up having to scoop this game at the end. We just have nothing left. Now we're going to move into new game, new decks to face. This is going to be a Solar Mill deck that we are playing against. So the opponent is going to start with a Humbust, Champion of Apollo. So he's going to try to mill us while he foretells. He's going to use a First Light, grab a Neblio, shuffle his deck, put that Neblio on top, and set a couple back row. Unfortunately for our opponent, we have a pretty good hand this game, so we feel in a pretty comfortable position. We're going to go ahead and normal cast out a Champ Aepharos. He's going to PTA it, bring us down so we can't necessarily get over it, and then we have our second Champ Aepharos. So we've got one that can get over the Humbust, and so we're going to do that, and then we're going to hit him, and then he will pay out the PTA to destroy our Champ Aepharos. He's going to go Neblio, and he's going to foretell. He's going to get a really good hit. He's going to get a First Light, a Leo Bright, and a Celestial all to hand. So pretty strong card. I'm a little bit worried. We know we are still stronger than this Neblio though, so he's going to wind up having to pass it back to us. I am going to go Eddy and change his Neblio to defense, so now both my Alestrals can get over his. And then I'm going to go for the Curvus. So I'm going to rock in a hard place. I'm going to target the Neblio and then the back row he pointed to, closer to his spirit deck. He's going to take a little bit to think about it. And then he's going to wind up getting rid of the first light that he had set. So kind of a bluff set. Not really great. I'm going to go ahead and get into Curubus. Get a little camera position, joggling for people coming in and out of the call. We've got Curubus on field now, and we're just going to swing the champ Aepharos over and then go in for 2 with Curubus, thinking that he doesn't really have anything in the back row. He's going to go for a Corvishine, and so his foretells are going to do extra. I'm going to go ahead and PTA it, just because I don't want it sticking around. He is going to Solar Burst, so he's going to foretell 7, and he's going to wind up hitting a Novacore and a Burst Champion of Apollo, so he's going to wind up being able to out our Curubus, unfortunately for us. But other than this, he's got a defense position Alestral who can't do anything. I'm going to go ahead and pay out, and he's not really going to be able to respond. I'm just going to go Champ Foamy, search Aphrodite. And then we're going to wind up casting out this Aphrodite. We're going to load it up fully. I'm going to disenchant. I'm going to go in, try to figure out which Aepharos I want to grab. I go ahead and decide on a regular base Aepharos because I know I have protection for my deck. And then my opponent's going to look at his hand, look at his spirit deck, and just decide to scoop because he doesn't have anything that's going to contest her board. Moving into a new game, we are going to be playing against opponent's new deck. He's going to be on a Hermes Fulgorix list. We're going to go start out with a Schnark and go ahead and grab the Rock in a Hard Place so we have our combo piece already in hand while he can't prevent us from getting it. One thing I've learned is that letting the Hermes stuff go with this deck, you really want to try to target the Hermes down if you get that Rock in the Hard Place. He's going to open a Nobby that is going to reduce our Schnark down to a 1. He's going to hit over, and we're going to let him go into the Doppelgator as we don't have any back row, and then we will take 2 more Spirits of damage as well from this Doppelgator that he's going to cast out. Going back into our turn, we're going to draw. We're going to set 1. We are going to run out a Champ Galaxy, and our opponent is immediately going to Gorgons him. He does not want us to get rid of his Doppelgator that easily. We're going to pass back to him. He is going to attempt to cast a Hermes, not realizing that the card he actually had was the full art box topper carry-off champion of Hermes with Hermes on the art. So he's instead going to cast out Spectaris, hit Spectaris over the Champ Whale, and then we're going to take 2 more from the Doppelgator. We are going to set a card. We're going to cast out our Eddie as we have a combo in hand. He is going to immediately Gorgons the Eddie to keep his guys in attack and protect them and prevent me from trying to go into Curubus. Passing back over to him. Our opponent is just going to expend to draw, as they don't really have a good move this turn. They are going to set one. I am just going to Tsunami as they try to attack over my Eddy. So now I have both of their Celestials in defense. And now I am going to attempt my Kuribus play. I'm going to rock in a hard place. I'm going to target the Doppelganger and one of the back row. I forget which one I targeted. He picked both up, just trying to look. But he's going to think hard about it as he's trying to figure out how his play is going to work. He will let the Doppelganger go down from the rock in a hard place, and then upon destruction he is going to cast a Rise from the Shadows. That'll go through. Our Eddy effect will go through to go into Kuribus. So we didn't really clear his board, we kind of pseudo cleared the back row in a way. So the Rise was a good play to be able to play after the resolution and keep his guy on board, but we still are able to get into our Kuribus. We don't have a way to get extra spirits on board just yet, unfortunately. I'd love to do that to be able to pop the Doppelganger with it, but we are going to go Champ Magneros. And we are going to search out a Champ Aepharos. And then we are going to special cast out that Champ Aepharos, getting some board presence. If we had had one more Water Spirit here, I probably would have used the Kuribus effect to try and pop the Doppelganger, not really thinking that his back row would have been that bad, or we could have tried to pop his back row as well. But here we go, we try to attack over the Spectaris and with our Kuribus, and he is going to Altar of the Stars to Nexus, change our position to defense, and this will trigger Doppelganger's effect to ascend into a Fulgorix. I really like Fulgorix. It's cool to see somebody playing this card. It really goes well with the Hermes. So now he's going to have a 4-spirit Fulgorix on board, and we're just going to have to go into his turn as we have nothing that we can do by it, and our guys are now sitting at 0 attack in attack position, and we're 4 attacker but sitting in defense. He's going to set 1 card. I'm going to look at my spirits, try to figure out exactly what we're doing here. He doesn't have a Nexus Bank, luckily, so he's not able to put one of my cards to the bottom of my deck. So he's just going to attempt to swing and try to clear over our board. He's going to try to attack into, I believe, the Aepharos to deal some damage. And so we are debating. We have a Gorgons and a Shield set. So here I'm debating whether I Gorgons him and then attempt to use Kuribus on the next turn, and so we will be able to get some heal to our deck. I decide the Shield is better, though. I have enough spirits. I can pay out the 4 for it, and then he's got a Fulgorix breaking up his hand, and there's not much he can do about it if he's not able to start clearing my board. I pull another Champ Aepharos. We've got and normal cast it out. We're going to get to do our play of sending the Babloon to heal a couple back to Kuribus, and so we've got 4 spirits on Kuribus, 7 spirits total on board, and he's going to scoop for this game. Heading into our final game here, we are going to keep our hand. Our opponent is going to start off with a Spinip. He's going to search out his Hermes. So we have seen a lot of Hermes today. We know what players like to do. He is going to set 3 back row and put up a nice defensive board for us. We're going to set 3 of our own. We're going to go Champ Whale, and he is going to PTA our Champ Whale. Effect is still going to swap our stats, so again, Whale Arrow question mark. We're going to be able to get over the Spinif, and then he will pay out the PTA in the end step. He's going to run out a Spectaris. I'm going to let it go through. He's going to swing for 1. We'll just go ahead and take the damage. We'll draw for turn. We'll cast out Eddie, attempt to turn Specteris to defense. And then we will swing over the Specteris, and then he's going to use a Rise from the Shadows to cast it back out after I destroy it. Our opponent's going to go cast a Hermes. He's going to use Hermes effect. He's going to send the champ Carry-On effect to special cast back out. He's then going to ascend that into the champ Carry-Off. He's going to use that to put his Carry-On back in the deck and shuffle it in. So now we're looking at a pseudo 5 under suppression and an 8-2 on board, but we have plenty of back row to deal with our opponent's plays. He's going to attempt in, we're going to flip the wrong card, and then we are actually going to Tsunami, putting them both to defense, both with 2 defense. We can easily get over these. We're going to go Champ Aepharos. Unfortunately, we don't have another one in hand. I'm going to attempt Eddie. He's going to alter the stars from his Hermes to his Carry-Off. So we are going to wind up taking 1 spirit of damage and losing our Eddie there. And then we will go our Champ Aepharos over the Specteris. So now we're just dealing with just the Champ Carry-Off. An 8 attacker is nothing to slouch at, but we have plenty of ways to deal with it with our deck. He is going to try to cast a Hermes, but he's going to try to pay off the extra spirit on his Carry-Off, which he cannot do because you cannot cast out permanents by siphoning. You can only use those for instant and counter runes. So instead, he is going to use Carry-Off's effect, put back Specteris into his deck. He's then going to cast out a second Hermes just for 2, use the 2 spirits on the Hermes for Hermes effect, sending his Champ Aviolith. He's going to heal 4 spirits. He's going to heal these back to spirit deck, so there's no other Hermes effect going off with this Hermes on field. I'm really happy to not see a Hermes shuffle going on here. I would prefer to have the Hermes just sit there with 1 spirit and basically be a dud on the field. I'm going to cast out an Eddie. I'm going to Eddie effect to turn him defense. He is going to PTA my Eddie. I don't have Rock in a Hard Place, unfortunately, so I'm going to be able to swing over with the Champ Aepharos, swing in for 1 damage with the Eddie, and then he's going to pay out his PTA. He's going to go Nobby. We'll let Nobby effect resolve. He's going to attempt over our Aepharos. We're thinking about back row and hand, figuring out which counter in we want to use. We're just going to shield him back to hand. And then our turn, we're going to cast out a base Aepharos. We're going to use Balloon's effect to get a couple extra spirits. He's going to dense fog us on the chaining to the Balloon effect, so we are not able to do the Nexus. However, he does not have the cards in hand, and we are going to take that game as well. Well, those are some fun games. There's definitely a few changes I would make to the deck. Still deciding whether 3 PTA and 2 shield is the right ratio, maybe switching out to 3 shield, 2 PTA. I also don't know if Monsoon really belongs in the main deck, given the presence of Fish and I think an increased presence in Hermes. We're not really ever going to get the suppression effect against those decks, though we are using it mostly to try to load up spirits onto our board for our Kurafish effect. It's just not too sure whether it's super effective or not. Let me know if you would play this deck and also what changes you would make to it. Also, make sure to check out my shorts as I am doing a daily pack challenge. Leave a like on the video and subscribe, and I'll see you back in the next one.